A 12-year-old boy was in bed when he heard his mother moaning. He decided that he'd go see what's wrong with her. When he looked into his mother's room, he saw that she was laying on her bed, naked, rubbing herself while saying, "I need a man, I need a man." So this happened quite a few times, and then one night he heard his mother moan again, but this time her moaning sounded different, so he went to go check it out. This time, instead of seeing his mother alone, he sees his mother in bed with a man. So the boy runs back to his room, strips all his clothes off, jumps on the bed, and starts rubbing himself while saying, "I need a bike, I need a bike." Little Johnny was at school one day when he noticed that there was a large crowd of kids gathered around Little Billy. He walks up to Little Billy and asks, "Hey, what's all the excitement about?" Little Billy says, "Just showing everyone my new watch." Little Johnny is amazed. "Wow, that's a cool watch. Where did you get it?" Little Billy says, "Well, I walked in on my mom and dad having sex over the weekend, and my dad was so mad he gave me a spanking and sent me to my room." The next day, he felt guilty about what he had done, so he went and bought me this cool watch. This gives Little Johnny a good idea. Later that night, when Little Johnny was sent to bed, he stayed up listening and waiting for his mom and dad to go to bed. Once he starts hearing noises coming from their room, he runs down the hall, throws their bedroom door open, catching them in the act. His dad asked, "What are you doing here, Johnny?" Little Johnny replies, "I want to watch." His dad looks over to Johnny and says, "Well, sit in the corner and be quiet." An older couple, who were both widowed, had been going out together for a long time. Urged on by their friends, they decided it was finally time to get married. Before the wedding, they went out to dinner and had a long conversation regarding how their marriage might work. They discussed finances, living arrangements, and so on. Finally, the old gentleman decided it was time to broach the subject of their physical relationship. "How do you feel about sex?" he asked, rather tentatively. "I would like it infrequently," she replied. The old gentleman sat quietly for a moment, adjusted his glasses, then leaned over towards her and whispered, "Is that one word or two?" A young man was showing off his new sports car to his girlfriend. She was thrilled at the speed. "If I do 200 miles per hour, will you take off your clothes?" he asked. "Yes," said his adventurous girlfriend. And as he gets up to 200, she peeled off all her clothes. Unable to keep his eyes on the road, the car skidded onto some gravel and flipped over. The naked girl was thrown clear, but he was jammed beneath the steering wheel. "Go and get help!" he cried. "But I can't. I'm naked and my clothes are gone." "Take my shoe," he said, "and cover yourself." Holding the shoe over her pubes, the girl ran down the road and found a service station. Still holding the shoe between her legs, she pleaded to the service station proprietor. "Please help me, my boyfriend's stuck." The proprietor looked at the shoe and said, "There's nothing I can do. He's in too far." A guy stuck his head into a barber shop and asked, "How long before I can get a haircut?" The barber looked around the shop full of customers and said, "About 2 hours." The guy left. A few days later, the same guy stuck his head in the door and asked, "How long before I can get a haircut?" The barber looked around at the shop and said, "About 3 hours." The guy left. A week later, the same guy stuck his head in the shop and asked, "How long before I can get a haircut?" The barber looked around the shop and said, "About an hour and a half." The guy left. The barber turned to his friend and said, "Hey Bob, do me a favor. Follow him and see where he goes. He keeps asking how long he has to wait for a haircut, but he never comes back." A little while later, Bob returned to the shop, laughing hysterically. The barber asked, "So where does he go when he leaves?" Bob looked up, wiped the tears from his eyes, and said, "Your house." A teacher was teaching her second grade class about the government. So for homework that one day, she told her students to ask their parents what the government is. When little Johnny got home that day, he went up to his dad and asked what the government was. His dad thought for a while and answered, "Look at it this way. I'm the president. Your mom is Congress. Your maid is the workforce. You are the people. And your baby brother is the future." "I still don't get it," responded the little Johnny. "Why don't you sleep on it then? Maybe you'll understand it better," said the dad. "Okay then. Good night," said little Johnny, went off to bed. In the middle of the night, little Johnny was awakened by his baby brothers crying. He went to his baby brother's crib and found that his baby brother had taken a crap in his diaper. So little Johnny went to his parents' room to get help. When he got to his parents' bedroom, he looked through the keyhole to check if his parents were asleep. Through the keyhole, he saw his mom loudly snoring, but his dad wasn't there. So he went to the maid's room. When he looked through the maid's room keyhole, he saw his dad having sex with his maid. Little Johnny was surprised, but then he just realized something and thinks aloud. "Oh, now I understand the government. The president is screwing the workforce, Congress is fast asleep, nobody cares about the people, and the future is full of shit." A girl was a prostitute, but she did not want her grandma to know. One day the police raided a whole group of prostitutes at a sex party in a hotel, and she was among them. The police took them outside and had all the prostitutes line up along the driveway. Suddenly, the girl's grandma came by and saw her. "Why are you standing in line, dear?" she asked. Not willing to let her grandma know the truth, the girl told her that the policemen were passing out free oranges. "Why, that is awfully nice of them. I think I'll get some for myself," said the grandma. A policeman went down the line, asking for information from all of the prostitutes. When he got to Grandma, he exclaimed, "Wow, still going at it at your age? How do you do it?" Grandma replied, "Oh, it's easy, dear. I just take out my dentures and suck them dry." Billy Bob was interviewed by a local reporter and bragged that despite his 72 years of age, he could still have sex 3 times a night. A blonde, who was among the crew, looked intrigued. After the interview, the blonde said, "Bob, if I am not being too forward, I'd love to have sex with an older man. Let's go back to my place." So they go back to her place and have great sex. Afterwards, Bob says, "If you think that was good, let me sleep for half an hour and we can have even better sex. But while I'm sleeping, hold my balls in your left hand and my dick in your right hand." The blonde looks a bit perplexed but says, "Okay." He sleeps for half an hour, awakens, and they have even better sex. Then Bob says, "That was wonderful, but if you let me sleep for an hour, we can have the best sex yet. But again, hold my balls in your left hand and my dick in your right hand." The blonde is now used to the routine and complies. The results are mind-blowing. Once it's all over and the cigarettes are lit, the blonde asks, "Bob, tell me, does my holding your balls in my left hand and your dick in my right stimulate you while you're sleeping?" Bob replies, "No, but the last time I slept with a slut from Melbourne, she stole my wallet."
Now country on. I did it that